Hello and welcome to the weekly Martech Brain Tap, weekly insights from marketer consultants in New York. I'm Inga Romanov.
And I'm Robert Vo.
Welcome. I'm so excited. Today we are going to talk about loyalty program and what it means in today's competitive world. We actually have a very special guest today. Jeff Goldberg is a friend of the Romanov family. Let me do some formal introduction on your behalf, and then you can kind of give a little bit of your informal background as well. Jeff Goldberg is a CEO and founder of Sir Coupon. That's how we met. He's a proven leader and entrepreneur with over 24 years in technology and marketing. He led technical teams at IBM Global Services, served as worldwide marketing manager, actually getting Leadership and Innovation Award, right? While developing several solutions. Currently, Jeff is Director of Marketing Automation and Lead Generation at McGraw-Hill Education, with previous roles at Intel, IBM, CBS Viacom, Time Incorporated, Pitney Bowes, and multiple startups. Fordham University MBA, and you have a patent. That's amazing. Wow, what an experience. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here. Great to be here with you and Robert, and I'm so excited about this podcast.
I cannot tell you how much I'm excited to talk about loyalty programs. It's not a very well-known fact, but a few years ago when I was working with limited brands, actually one of the focus areas was creating these loyalty programs, either PLCC or transactional, so the retail side of things. And back then, we were probably one of the very first companies that really was digging deep, and it was a lot of mathematics, understanding consumer behavior. And as a result, actually, I was really passionate about the topic. I went and got my certification with the DMA on loyalty programs. I really wanted to know more than what Colloquy at the time had. And
what does DMA stand for our audience?
The Direct Marketing Association.
Oh, perfect. Thanks.
Yeah. No, it's like, I feel like Jeff and I, although we weren't working together, we go way back.
Exactly.
But this is kind of a different world, right? So a few years ago, we didn't necessarily have these technologies like yours, for example, like Sir Coupon. And perhaps the world changed so much, it's much faster. The preferences are much stronger, and the loyalty is probably much less for the brands. How do you see the world today?
You know, that's such a really thought-provoking question. And I would say that one of the big things that's happened are the expectations that people have around loyalty have increased significantly. People expect that brands know them. People expect that their preferences are adhered to, and people want to be engaged in a meaningful way.
I would agree with that. I would say as a consumer myself, I get annoyed when the brand doesn't know my preferences, if they treat me like they just met me.
Yeah, there's even this concept of surprise and delight, where loyalty programs when implemented properly, surprise and delight customers, and that's even considered one of the techniques for engaging people. Steve Lucas and Marketo and others have been talking about the engagement economy. It's really about meaningful experiences that help bring out the best of a brand and in concert with the preferences of the customer.
Thank you for bringing it up. The engagement economy, as I'm thinking of it, to me meant that we're not only going to sort of be in a tail of whatever's happening, but we're going to drive the change because we have our hands on marketing technologies. We have ability to develop new solutions like yours, for example, to drive that loyalty, to allow for companies to see the full picture, the omnichannel picture of their prospects and customers, and have these meaningful conversations like we're having here, as opposed to me saying, hello, nice to meet you, Jeff. I already know you. I know what you're specializing in. I know your topics of passion, and we can talk about those. But from our perspective, from technologists, because we understand the technology, but it's really not what it does, right? It's how you use it. What does it mean for us, for marketers?
Well, you know, you hit the nail on the head with omnichannel loyalty. Omnichannel loyalty is a term that so many people are using, and yet we have these marketing automation systems. Some people are leveraging them to the max, some are not. why not leverage your existing infrastructure, whether it's Marketo, if that's your marketing automation system, and couple it with a technology that could embed offers. In the case of SirCoupon specifically, what we do is we embed offers within emails, and then when those offers are redeemed, that information gets fed back into Marketo, allowing people to do further segmentation and campaigns and earn and burn models, all the types of things that you would typically want and expect from in this engagement economy. Closed loop reporting has always been possible with Marketo, but as we know, the B2B market has been more of a shining point than the B2C area. So SirCoupon specifically just kind of helps embellish and augment the functionality of marketing automation systems. And specifically, we've been talking about the Marketo integration lately, just because that happens to be one of the exciting things that we've been working on.
I want to pause here for a second. And I know you're talking technical stuff, but I want everybody to take a breath and hear what Jeff just said. He said, the emails that you're going to send out to your prospects and customers will have connected information about coupon redemption. I will say, it's amazing. And I remember from like the days of Victoria's Secret, even there's 3 different, the catalog and online and stores were separate companies. We had hard time tying data for the same person from different channels. Forget what happened in the store and to actually send the email out and have that information. That sounds groundbreaking. Does anybody do this?
There are people that do this, but they often leverage external systems, and it's certainly not been possible with some of the marketing automation systems that we're dealing with and working with. But to be able to reward customers in real time with a congratulatory note after a redemption has been made, that's hugely important. People feel recognized, people feel acknowledged, and they feel like their needs are being actually ascertained, it's
yeah. And in B2C, where things move really fast, that much of a differentiation has got to be very profitable from a business perspective. It's not just about the feeling, right? There's math behind it as well.
Sure. And what's great is if you couple technologies that already have rich analytics and reporting, and you bolt on something that isn't rip and replace, you can really accelerate your adoption rate. And I think it's hugely important to be data driven when you're approaching loyalty rewards. And even whether you're embedding offers or you're developing a full-fledged loyalty program, use your data. And I say that because there are nuggets of information around redemption habits, around perhaps even idiosyncratic behaviors that are specific to your business. And even the best analyst firm isn't going to uncover that. It's really doing a deep dive into your data, and a really robust marketing automation system coupled with whatever other technologies you might be implementing can help you get there.
Wow. Okay. I don't want to drift away in thought, but I was thinking, there were a couple of projects when we married cookies of anonymous data, where we do a analysis, and there's a recommender of just a kind of cookie data, who they are based. But imagine if we married the third-party cookie data with first-party Marketo data, where we can actually ask questions, and then with the actual physical behavior and coupon redemption, and like you said, the habits, and I see that data just speaking to us.
Absolutely. And I would say that excuse me, one of the most important parts of a loyalty program that I've seen is for people to feel like they're in control of the process. what I'm terming that internal locus of control, which is just a fancy psychology term that I learned in college, all about giving people the levers that they need that they can pull themselves, whether that's determining what kind of content they get and when they get that content. So if you're setting up a loyalty program, I strongly encourage you to not only think about what Forrester calls the mobile moments, where people are looking at their phone and capitalizing on that. Don't squander those opportunities, and allow people to set up the cadence and preferences and adhere to those preferences. People feel like they're respected. People will feel like they are being heard, and they'll stay engaged in your program.
Yeah. And you know what? So we're here in New York. In fact, our office right here on Broadway, we've seen so many open retail spaces. I'm not even going to go into what's happening with Amazon and how they are possibly well positioned to really win the market and take a lot of it online, or maybe combine or design the experience now fully, not just online, offline, but really together as an omnichannel view of that. So does then loyalty become a lot more important? Does knowing that person in the store become a lot more important, having that visibility into those either loyalty redemption habits or whatever the profile might be? Or there's probably, or is it only applying to online? How would you say that impact should look like?
Yeah, so that's such a great question, and I say that because, as we know, the Amazon effect is abound, and that it's not the end of the road for a number of retailers. There will always be brick and mortar stores. The question is, how can they differentiate themselves? And just to go back to that concept of engagement, through engagement and forging bonds with their customers, I think that's really the key to their success. One of the things, just as an example, that we have as part of the SirCoupon implementation is the ability for merchants to add like their first name and last name when somebody brings in and scans in an offer, so that the next time they come in, at the point of sale, the merchant can say, "Welcome back, Inga. We really appreciate your business." Now, whether that's perceived as uber friendly, or if without the right training, a little bit on the creepy side, the personalization and personal touch that we're really striving for is really something that everyone's tinkering with, and a lot of businesses have not gotten it down. But the technology is changing; it's evolving. We're no longer talking just about earn and burn models where people earn points and then burn them. We're talking about experiences where people want experiences coupled with things that they can earn. But interestingly enough, I was interestingly enough, there are a number of in the B2C world that people are really striving to get offers and coupons and save money, and so it's key to first understand what are they ultimately seeking, and then embellish that experience with those mobile moments and with those other accoutrements that will help make it a fulfilling experience.
A whatchamons? A whatchamons? What was that?
Forgive me. I know one word in French.
Okay.
And I think it's accoutrement, which are accompanying things.
Got it. Hey,
so sorry.
Hey. No problem at all. No problem at all. Yeah, I just want to learn as well as we go, right? But here's a question for you, and probably Inga as well, since you guys are sort of B2C retail folks, right? I'm not so much of that, but still learning. But question, from your experience, from all that you've seen out there, what use case or what company has really done it well in a sense of incorporating, right? Like Jeff, what you were saying earlier about like, It could be creepy if you kind of get like, hey, Robert, come
Big
on in
brother,
and
yeah.
sit, right? Or it could just be, hey, Robert, great to see you again. But, like, how do you make it, like not so creepy, right? But but the real question is like out there in, in the retail sphere, if you will, who's doing it well? Who's doing it right? Who's doing it like, who's really knocking it out the ballpark from what you've seen and experienced?
Well, one of the things that's so exciting is the beginning traction with mobile wallets.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just reading a report recently that said that Pep Boys, as an example, Pep Boys sells car supplies and
Right.
accoutrement. Just kidding.
I know what that means now.
And so they're excuse me, getting a over 30% redemption rate just by having the ability to add things to Apple Wallet. Apple Wallet and then there's the Android version of that hadn't taken off for quite some time, but this is an area that's really ripe for the picking. There are so many opportunities. So 30% redemption rate is pretty good. There are a lot of other people. There are a lot of examples of folks who are doing better jobs with their loyalty programs, but there are so many techniques that are still being implemented that this is a big work in progress.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, I think with the mobile, it's also very interesting. What are you saying?
Oh, any use case that you've seen, out there as you dealt with the, within the retail industry? Have you seen worked really well, or that the company did it, knocked it out of the ballpark?
Not really. I see. I'll give you like a long answer to this. I think consumer side of things picked up the math behind marketing automation long ago. It was actually back when it was called database marketing. Then it was CRM marketing. We all went to CRMC. We knew how to do the math behind it. But I don't think we actually had the view of omnichannel back then. I think mobile actually picked up a lot later. And at some point of time, somehow, marketing automation kicked in. Probably Marketo's fault. Marketing automation kicked in gear, and B2B became really sophisticated. And as I was just talking about Scott Brinker's marketing technology landscape and all the technologies available to us, as more sort of tools were available to become part of that platform, to develop that design and experience that Jeff is talking about, I definitely think B2B kind of leaped ahead, and then B2C now is picking it up. So I see this huge convergence of the knowledge of how we've done nurturing and understanding the customer on the B2B side, but we have so much more time, right? Our lead life cycle could be 6 to 12 months. In retail, you have seconds, minutes. Consumer businesses, what the 9-day, maybe the longest. I don't know. I don't know the general statistics, but I definitely see that we're in the crux of these technologies converging and giving these capabilities. And this is where talking about the engagement economy, sitting sort of in the center of it and designing experiences, CX. So it's not just, here's the voice of customer and my brand, people listening to that. Here's my email marketing person that is really sophisticated and knows how to do just the responses in email and optimize email. Here's my other people that do banners. And, these are no longer separate parts of marketing. It has to be designed and as an experience. And this is exactly what Jeff was talking about. You really have to start there and then sort of design whatever your stack should look like to fulfill that.
Yeah, and Inga, you reminded me of something before that I read recently in an eMarketer report, that 63% of millennials participate in a loyalty program that supports their lifestyles and personal preferences. To arrive at that, we need to have a data-driven approach. We need to understand what are their preferences, what are their lifestyle choices, just so that we can better segment our audience and we can target them effectively. And you're right. And you're absolutely correct. The omni-channel experience also sets the bar a lot higher. It sets it higher just from the perspective of needing to be able to recognize what those needs are.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that now we have the tools to do that. We just need to have that mindset. I don't actually know any company that does it really well, but probably everybody is trying. In today's world, nobody has the answers, but probably some of those more like Jeffs of the world, like you already thinking this way. And while you might not have all the answers, you're looking for solutions now.
The one thing I will definitely say is that there's a movement away from transactional rewards. So it really is all about experiences. And even though people say that they want offers and savings and to save money in general, it really is broader than that. And it's really forging a bond, which can be quantified, but is a little bit requires some marketing finesse.
Got it. Hey, Jeff, real quick, I have a question for you. Going all the way back to sort of the beginning of this podcast, you mentioned about surprise and delight. So I took note of that. I wanted to kind of bring that back because I'm very curious. Do you like what does that look like? Surprise and delight, and have you what have you seen out there that that maybe helps our viewer kind of understand, like, hey, if we've seen a customer or a company did this to totally surprise and delight their
Yeah, absolutely. So surprise and delight can be anything from providing someone an exclusive access to an event to keeping track of their score, and when they're exceeding a certain threshold in Marketo with, let's say, Sir Coupon or whatever you're implementing, surprise them, let them know that you appreciate them. It's I once read a definition of rewards that it's the unanticipated behavioral reward that is the most reinforcing. It's that unexpected event that happens that can really reinforce behaviors, and it's when it's not predictable. That's also so there's a fine balance between something that's very predictable and on a schedule, and then surprising somebody.
Right.
And that engenders a whole different array of feelings as well.
So if I kind of bring in sort of a real world, my experience, because I just like to kind of take it to the real world, right? For example, I buy shoes at Aldo's, right? Aldo shoes. I'm sure you know of Aldo's.
Sure.
And at one point I bought these, and I don't buy like expensive shoes. I'm just not an expensive shoes kind of guy. But because of this one promotion I had, I bought a pair that were $250, right? So I'm like, wow, this is like big expensive shoes for me. Usually I'm a sub $100 shoe guy kind of guy, right? So not later than maybe a couple of days, I got a coupon from Aldo's that encouraged me to buy another pair of shoes. And guess what I did? I bought another pair of $250 shoes.
Did you buy a pair of shoes?
I did. Right. So that did. So, as you were talking through the surprise and delight, I think that was the first thing that kind of popped into my mind that did surprise and actually delighted me. So I went back to the store and actually used the coupon and bought, another pair of shoes. So there you go. That's a real world example from a real experience that got me to go into the store.
What's also interesting about the example that you called out is that they not only engendered certain behaviors, but the right behavior.
Right.
There's so many loyalty programs out there that just get you into a store, but don't reward you regardless of whether you spend $1 or $500 or whatever the case might be.
Right.
And in the same way, whether you're using Marketo with embedded personalized offers where you're rewarded, Marketo, and just a plug for Marketo, just for a quick second, it's such a powerful platform. And when you couple that technology with the ability to do things like personalized offers and provide that closed loop, it becomes even more powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just like we always, Inga and I, we always talk to clients about, like, you know what, if you're not measuring it, if you don't see the performance of it, then you're just doing a lot of stuff, right? So really what you want to do is kind of actually get the engagement, metrics and the ROI on that. So you could say, hey, this is working really well, right?
Yeah, I know I could talk to you for hours, Jeff. I know as we sort of coming up on the time here, I wanted to ask you, what do you want the listeners to walk away with? What are, like, on loyalty, what are the top things you would say we should keep in mind?
I would say the most important thing to keep in mind is that when you're developing a loyalty program, you want to foster what I call a symmetric relationship. Symmetric in the sense that be aware that there's a quid pro quo. If a customer is willing to join your program, they not only want to feel rewarded, they want to feel rewarded in a way that's commensurate with the information that they've provided or the latitude that they've given you to reach them, whether that's through an SMS message, whether that's through an email. The respect that we provide means, leveraging FOMO, fear of missing out, but not being too annoying with your loyalty program. So many people feel that the loyalty programs that they're in lack relevance. So I would highly encourage people to be on topic and create that relevance, just so that people can really adopt things in full, in a full-fledged way, and use your data and make sure you reward behaviors that you want to reinforce.
So be relevant, don't be creepy. Use your data. And sounds like also be very thoughtful about what you are creating as an experience.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Thank you so much. This has been very insightful and inspiring. Yes. I hope there are more loyalty programs that inspire us and connect all kinds of data about us. We'll add Jeff's contact information so you can reach out to him directly. And of course, text your email at our podcast number, which is 646-863-5601. And thank you so much for joining our weekly insights from Marketo Consultants in New York.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Jeff. That was amazing. Appreciate it.
Thank you.